All right, so the plan for today was supposed to be to tune the 2J. I'm get it plugged into the laptop here, open up Tuner Studio, and figure out what's causing me to break up and backfire. So the laptop I'm using is a Microsoft, it's actually a tablet, it's not a laptop, and it doesn't have a USB port, so I have to get a USB micro to female USB adapter so I can plug it into my USB that's coming out of my ECU. My steering box is also a little leaky. Unfortunately, we can't tune today, but I will have that USB adapter in a couple days, which will allow me to plug the Jeep into the laptop and see what's going on. So yeah, the other day when I was ripping this Jeep down the gravel road, I think my steering box didn't like that too much, so I got to figure that out. I still got to bring this Jeep down to the shop today. I just don't have time to do it myself. I got to have these leaf springs installed so I can get this thing ready for the winter. Right now, I can drive it, but the broken leaf spring just doesn't seem safe to drive on. Yeah, that's broken on that side. So yeah, I've had these leaf springs in the garage for a long time and they're buried. So I got to find them. Then I'm going to take the green Jeep to the shop. So yeah, we got these beautiful Rubicon Express heavy duty leaf springs. Got the bushings in them already, so I'm going to load them up in the Jeep. Leaf spring number 2. All right, I got the leaf springs loaded up in the back of the Jeep. Now let's hit the road, bring this thing to the shop. Yeah, I know a lot of you guys are going to drop down in the comments and get on me about not doing it myself, but frankly, I just don't have the tools and time to do those leaf springs because the bolts on those could be damn near impossible to get out. And I got enough going on with the 2J over there. I want to keep the content interesting for you guys, so I'm going to spend most of my time messing with this thing instead of this thing. I just got a lot of work to do and gotta basically just do whatever I can to get this thing ready for the winter so I can have a nice reliable 4-wheel drive Jeep for the winter. Don't get me wrong, the Tacoma, I haven't had it in the snow yet, but I'm sure it does well. It's 4-wheel drive too, but there's nothing that beats an XJ. This thing has gotten me out of this driveway to work many times when the snow's like up to here. That's why I'm just gonna drop this thing off at the shop. I don't have to worry about it. Pick it up in a week, and there's a few other things it needs too. Besides that, it needs a front drive shaft too, so I can't forget about that. All right, so it's like 3 weeks later from that last clip, and I picked my Jeep up last night. So let me show you guys a little bit what happened with the Jeep. As you guys know, this panel right here was completely gone, and up inside here was all rotten. But as you can tell, that's all been patched. And I got 2 brand new leaf springs on each side. It's not a complete trunk floor pan replacement because I just didn't want to shell out that kind of cash. So I had a shop basically just cut all the rod out where the hole was, put in some metal, weld it in place, seam seal it, and it's good to go. So you saw that other leaf spring was all busted. This one's new. The same Rubicon Express 3.5-inch lift leaf springs. I'm more stoked about this floor being sealed off. Obviously it's not perfect. You can tell here on my unibody that still needs to get patched, but the floor pan's solid and it's sealed off and no water's getting up into there, which is the most important part. This whole part too is all sealed off. It used to just expose the inside of the wheel well and all the electrical components in there. They got wet from that, from salt and dirt and all kinds of shit from the road flying up inside of there, and it made my brake lights not work. So I didn't want to deal with that headache. I got enough going on with this Jeep over here. So that's why I brought it to the shop, had the leaf springs replaced, the floor patched, and I also got a new front drive shaft, brand new. The old one was actually completely shot, and he told me that better off just to replace it than to rebuild the old one because it was in really rough shape. So with all that being done, this Jeep's officially ready for the winter. With the front drive shaft being in, now I can use 4-wheel drive and get through the brutal snow. Now that that Jeep's done, I can focus on this one. Still got to replace this steering box because it's leaking pretty good. You can tell there. I have a horrible pop. I'll try to get it on video. I'm gonna pull it up here in the garage so I can jack it up. There's a few things I think it might be. It's either there's a spacer that sits between the unibody rail and the steering box, and that's made out of some type of aluminum, and it breaks all the time on the factory steering box. So what they do is they get this piece. Let me show you here. So the solution to that is this little spacer right here. It's made out of steel. I'm gonna paint it up so it doesn't rust. This Jeep already had it done. I don't know if you can see it up in there. Try to get a little shot. Yeah, there it is. So that bracket, it's actually the spacer, and that's what this piece is right here. So I don't know if the 2J has an aftermarket spacer or not. I've never taken it off. I'm just gonna assume it doesn't. So when I take the steering box out and put a new one in, I can just pop this bad boy in there as well. Even if that isn't the problem, if it's not broken, I'm still gonna replace it because this is much stronger than the factory spacer. Hopefully that'll fix the issue, but I'm not gonna do that today because I don't even have the steering box. It's gonna take a little while to get here. But what I can do is I can check something else that it might be, and that's the track bar. I guess what happens is on the frame side here, these bolts can come loose. So I'm just gonna bolt check everything, make sure those are tight. But I hope that my unibody isn't cracked underneath this track bar bracket. That's another thing that these Jeeps are prone for, is the front unibody. When something's loose or the steering box goes out, it can actually crack your unibody, which isn't a huge deal because you could just weld it up. I hope that's not the case for me because I already have enough welding I got to do on that Jeep. Yeah, I'm gonna pull it in the driveway here and just jack it up, see if we can visually see anything and rule out any issues. All right, so as you can tell here, I'm gonna throw a wrench on this. Oh, it's kind of hard to do with one hand, but yeah, that bolt's loose. You just saw it turn. So that's an issue. That could be causing that popping noise. So we're gonna go ahead and check this one, tighten it up, check this one, tighten it up, and check these as well. All right, so I tightened down those bolts as best I could. It's hard to access that nut on top of there. Well, the top of the bolt, I should say. The nuts are easy, they're right there, but the top of those, I tightened them down a little bit, but I don't think that's the issue causing me popping, because I pulled this guy, this little chunkaroonie, outside from, it's hard to see here, but that's my steering box where the pitman arm's connected to. And in between here, you can't see because of all these hoses. Oh, but if you look closely here, you can tell that that spacer is obliterated. That's where the chunk came off of right there. So I'm gonna need to replace that ASAP. All right, so I wanna show you guys a little hack. If you got worn out door seals, as you can see here, there's a huge gap. You can literally see right outside. It goes all the way up here, and you can see light almost all the way down, and it's pretty big right there. So if you're too cheap to go buy a whole new door seal, like me, which I've replaced that too on that side, so I'm kind of over buying door seals. What you're gonna wanna do is get yourself a rope like this, run it in the channel of the old weather stripping right here. So in between the body and the weather stripping, you're gonna run it all the way down there. I'm gonna pop this on and show you how that gap disappears. So as you can see here, I got that rope wedged in there. Doesn't need to be perfect. And you can already tell there's a much better seal on it. And voila. No more gap, no more leaks, no more rotted out floor. Yeah, it's a little trick that I learned. You can do the same thing with the front as well if you're leaking from the top here. I'm actually gonna stuff a little rope on the top because I have a little gap. And what causes that is when you lock your keys in the car, the locksmith comes out and sometimes they'll put an airbag up between the pillar and the body right here, and that bends your door, creating a gap. Or you have a worn out door seal. I suggest you replace the door seal itself. I think it's like 60 bucks. You can buy them on Quadratech. So yeah, if you feel like doing that, you can do that, but you got to take some of your interior parts out. So in my opinion, it's easier just to stuff a rope in there, call it a day. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. Stay tuned for the next one. I know I said in the last video that the 2J is gonna get tuned the next video, which would make that this video, but Unfortunately, I just haven't had time. I've been working more, and with the holidays and everything, I don't expect people to drop what they're doing and make time for me to tune. So stay tuned. Most likely the next video will be me tuning the 2J. Well, I'm gonna have someone else tune it sitting beside me, but what we're gonna do, I originally wanted to bring it to the dyno and run some numbers and tune it on the dyno, but that's just not practical right now. And someone hit me up on Instagram who lives probably 30 minutes away from here, and they offered their assistance in tuning. So he's gonna hop in the Jeep with me. He's gonna sit on his laptop and hopefully dial this thing in, and we'll go from there. But until then, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.